friends, I'm Akash, and this is your News of the Week for the week of August 22nd to August 28th, 2021. Let's take a look at the news stories that we have for you this week. And we begin with the biggest story, which is the suicide bomb blast right outside Kabul International Airport that killed 182 civilians, including 13 U.S. troops. We'll talk more about this breaking story in just a moment. But first, the fact that COVID-19's third wave has swept across all of America. The 2020 Paralympics are taking place in 2021, and Hurricane Ida is set to hit Louisiana tomorrow as a Category 4 hurricane. All of this and pretty much that up on this News of the Week. So let's take a look. First story is the fact that the United States has been evacuating and airlifting off its civilians and citizens and Afghans who have helped with America during the war. And we've all been doing this out of one major airport, Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul, which is the capital of Afghanistan. Now, recently, you may know that Kabul was taken by Taliban forces, and as such, it's now under rebel control. But now, on August 26th, 2021, it transpired that a bomb blast took place right outside Kabul International Airport, killing 182, including 13 U.S. Armed Forces troops. This right here is very dangerous, as it actually was one of the most lethal attacks in 10 years. And in fact, it was one of the most dangerous attacks in the history of the war in Afghanistan and its surrounding period. So that's what happened. It's really, really dangerous, as the situation in this jam-packed airport was really, really riling up. Like, people were even hanging on to the plane wheels just to get out of Afghanistan. The situation was that bad. And now there's a suicide bomb blast outside the airport that's left 182 dead. That includes several U.S. Armed Forces troops. It appears that a group calling itself the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant Khorasan province has declared responsibility for this incident, for this event. Now, if you're wondering that name sounds familiar, it's because it's literally just a form of ISIL, which was the radical Islamist group that skyrocketed to well-knownness in the 2014 and 2013, and infamy. Now, with these, since ISIL is very devoted for the idea of a world caliphate, it has several provinces throughout the world, which is pretty much just rebel forces. One of these is the Khorasan province, and that just so happens to be the one that orchestrated this attack, as it claims jurisdiction over this region. So they claimed responsibility for this, and they actually said that not only do they hate America, they also hate the Taliban as well, and they consider both of them as state enemies. So that's what's been happening. That's who is responsible for this attack. Now let's take a look at the response. Obviously, President Biden said, first of all, that we're vowing to retaliate against this. And sure enough, we did. I'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, President Biden also said that the 13 U.S. troops who died in this event, in this attack, were heroes of the nation. Plus, he also defended the evacuation and airlifting of the citizens of the U.S. and also all of the Afghans who helped with America during the war. So this is what's going on right now. And as such, President Biden has said this, and meanwhile his opponents out in the Republican Party are not all too happy about this, because it was kind of a botched job, And as such, Republicans are not that happy, and some are even calling for his resignation as a result of this. In addition, the House Republicans have drafted articles of impeachment not for the president, but rather for someone else, the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, as it's his department under which pretty much most of this happens, alongside, obviously, the Pentagon and the Department of Defense. So that's quite what's happening right now. And this is one of the most dangerous attacks that we've seen in quite a long time here in the war of Afghanistan. The 20-year-long history, we haven't seen this big of an attack. The last time we've seen this was perhaps around a decade ago, and this war lasted 2 decades, so it's a lot of time for such an attack. And plus, we did eventually get their back, because just the day after, on August 27th, we officially decided to retaliate, and as such, we pretty much just fired a drone strike, killing one of the masterminds of ISIL-K, who is behind this bomb blast outside Kabul International Airport in Afghanistan. Obviously, there's still a lot more stuff that needs to be figured out, and so this information is probably going to come in soon in the upcoming days as time goes by. So we'll probably do an update report on this in our following News of the Week session, detailing more about this. Now, let's take a look at the next story that we have for you this week, COVID-19. Now, COVID-19 has been attacking America and the world, and it just swept everyone up with the third wave of COVID-19, infecting hundreds of thousands per day worldwide. 180,000 just yesterday. It's always been roughly 180,000, sometimes almost 200,000. So this is getting very, very, very bad. Now, the situation is getting even worse is the fact that the Delta variant of COVID-19 doesn't make any difference regarding of age, for example. It just doesn't matter if someone is a 1-year-old or an 80-year-old, even infants and seniors and everyone in between is getting Delta and is getting the coronavirus. So make sure to stay safe, get a vaccine if you haven't already, and make sure to wear a mask in public. Now, obviously, besides just this, there are some other things that have been, popping out everywhere. And so with this COVID-19 situation now, you'd expect that everyone should be, getting in with all of the requirements and whatnot, but no, that's not happening. Plus, the fact that the Delta variant is entirely indifferent to age is a very terrible, terrible timing, because the school season has begun again in person now, and well, COVID-19 cases in children have risen sharply as a result. Also, homeschooling has apparently also risen, but I guess that makes sense somewhat. Now, the thing is, what's going on with this is kind of, it's a little out of hand now, as the fact that sometimes debates begin to rise over whether to wear a mask or not regarding this COVID-19, and whether to do this or whether to do that. And it's now divided between states in America. The states which remain laxer compared to the other ones on the issue of wearing a mask are probably going to get more cases than those who remain more stricter. And in some states, like for example in Florida, a Florida judge said that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis can't just prohibit mask mandates in schools. Yep, apparently Florida Governor Ron DeSantis probably wanted to prohibit mask mandates in schools, and as such, that eventually got taken to state court, and a Florida judge just said, no, you can't do that. But in other states, like here in Texas, that has already been put in place. And so at this point, it's been like that. There aren't that many places where mask mandates are actually being placed, in part because the Texas Governor Greg Abbott has more or less just prohibited mask mandates in public establishments entirely. So that is only really over. It's already been followed pretty much everywhere in Texas, and the only places where it hasn't and it's actually going by COVID-19 rules are in the more populous urban areas. And again, it's become an issue of politics for no reason at all. As the famous saying says, united we stand, divided we fall, and sure enough, divided we are falling. With the situation of coronavirus, we're landing currently #1 in the total number of cases per day. And so that is currently what's happening. We have the most cases out of any country in the world right now, and I genuinely hope that this is going to stop. But it probably is going to continue on for quite some while, maybe even going into 2022. Plus, the Lambda variant might even make COVID-19 vaccines entirely redundant. The best option is, I don't know, just to stay at home and don't go outside unless necessary at this point. That's what's been happening so far, and I hope that COVID-19 doesn't get even more worse. God help my country and the world, truly. Now, let's take a look at our next story this week. It's the Paralympics. The para-athletes from all around the world come to compete in the Paralympics every year. It's the Olympics for athletes with disabilities, and it truly proves that anything, no matter what, is possible. Now, para-athletes from all around the world come to the Paralympics every year, and sure enough, they're flocking to Tokyo for the Tokyo 2020 Paralympics taking place in 2021. Yeah, obviously, since the Paralympics run alongside parallel to the Olympics, which just took place last month, obviously it's going to follow the same exact procedures and security installments. For example, everyone getting tested and, making sure everything's okay. Plus, obviously, it being held entirely behind closed doors and only Paralympics officials in the stands. And the fact that it got postponed to 2021. Yeah, that's pretty much what's been going on with the Paralympics right now. But obviously, those are just some of the more obvious, restrictions that they put in place for this year's Paralympics. And so, as such, the Paralympics opening ceremony took place on August 24th, 2021. And for some reason, the theme was air travel, apparently. Airplanes, aircraft, airports. I'm not joking. That is literally the theme of the whole opening ceremony. It is a little interesting given the current situation, but I guess that makes sense somewhat. Now, with the Paralympics, the way that it's working now with this is that, as you can tell, we got a medal tally right here. And let's take a look at some of the scores that we're at. Obviously, China in the lead right now with, I believe, 31 gold and 79 in total. Then Great Britain in second and Russia in third. And I was really rooting for America, but America seems to be down in fourth with only 11 gold medals out of 31 in total. Meanwhile, Japan has only 13 medals, only 2 of which are gold, and as such, it placed 15th. But then again, this is just the first 5 days of the tournament. There are still 8 more days to go, a whole week left of competition. So we're just gonna have to see, because literally anything can change. I really can't wait to watch the Paralympics, and I hope you can't wait to watch it too, because it's so amazing. It's a true celebration of sport, and it proves that anything is possible. You can do it. That is what the Paralympics celebrates. Now, let's take a look at our final story of the week. It's Hurricane Ida. It started as a tropical depression, as with every other hurricane, in August 24th, but later it became a tropical storm, and then it became a hurricane, Category 1 hurricane, when it hit Cuba on August 26th. And there's a good chance that by August 29th, it's going to become a Category 4 hurricane and make landfall in Louisiana. So everyone in the region, make sure to stay safe and away from the hurricane. Louisiana has been getting everyone to do it. The Louisiana governor issuing a state of emergency for the region, and the New Orleans mayor, Latoya Cantrell, has urged everyone to get away from this as soon as possible, because it is going to be quite bad, and it could even be devastating, as this is a Category 4 hurricane. And as such, that's what's going on currently with this Hurricane Ida. So everyone in the region, make sure to stay safe. And that is pretty important. Plus, apparently, it's going to land on August 29th, which was the same day that Hurricane Katrina, the very devastating one, hit Louisiana and New Orleans just 16 years ago in 2005. And so that's currently what's going on with Hurricane Ida, so make sure to stay safe once again. And that is all of your news of the week for the week of August 22nd to August 28th, 2021. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Akasha Cody, and I'll see you in other news of the week. Goodbye.